Okay, so everything I said still counts. And so this was just a picture of the finished product. And here's the recipe. So for the ingredients, this is the bag of frozen cinnamon rolls. I didn't know that existed. I just thought you use Pillsbury, little pop open things for cinnamon rolls. And what I liked about them is that I just keep a pack of those in the freezer. And then if I need them, they're there. And I usually always have butter and brown sugar. And we usually have some ice cream around. So you use a 9x13, and you'll want a fairly big piece of foil. And we put pecans in just about everything. So I have pecans there. And this is the cup of brown sugar, cup of butter, or stick of butter. And this is the vanilla ice cream. It said a hefty scoop. And so that kind of leaves it up to your imagination. And you just sort of guess. So you have to butter the pan that you're going to put the rolls in. And this, while this is melting on the stove, you butter the pan. And this is kind of how it melts, and it ends up getting to this stage. And you want to stir it because you don't want it to burn, of course. And so it's just a very thick syrup. And so I poured some in the bottom. And of course, I put pecans on half because our guests, one of them didn't care for pecans, and so, or nuts in general. And so I figured we'll just do it half and half. And this is how thick the cinnamon roll is when it's frozen. And that's how it's in the pack. There are like 12 of them, and they're not sold. They are frozen, and they're in the section of your grocery store where they have like your different breads, like garlic bread. So it's not with your Pop-Tarts or your frozen, whatever those frozen breakfast things are. It's where the breads are. And usually up on a top shelf, not very noticeable, but they had them. Okay, so I laid them all, made them fit in the pan, and then I drizzled all of them over with the sauce. And I think next time I would probably sprinkle a little more cinnamon, just because with the sweetness from the sauce, and it ended up being a little caramelly, which is wonderful. But since they were cinnamon rolls, I thought, I meant to do it. I just forgot on this batch. But then I thought, well, if you have pecans on the bottom, you need pecans on the top. And then I covered it up with a little more sauce. And then, so you do this the night before. And so you want to take your piece of foil and that's butter across. You just take your stick and swipe it across for the area that when it rises, it's going to touch that. And so you want to tent the foil just a little bit so that it has room to rise. And don't forget, if you're going to, don't throw your bag away because it has 2 packets of white frosting in it, as if we need more sweet stuff. But I almost forgot to put that on. And at the last minute, I had to get them out of the refrigerator and warm them up. But so the next morning, I took the foil off. And if anything stuck to the top, just scrape it off and put it back on, because they got that big. They really, so that's just having risen for the night, and it's a side view. And so they've become very light and fluffy. And so because I had a glass pan, I set it to 325. And I think the recipe said 25 to 30 minutes, and I started at 25. And I think I ended up cooking them for about 30, maybe a little 35. It would depend on your own oven. But they just rise up even more. Just it's really pretty impressive when they come out. So here's the 2 sugar packets after you take them out of the oven, and you just squeeze them across the top. And they were wonderful. So we had a couple left, and we enjoyed them the rest of the time. So does anyone have any questions about these? The house smelled wonderful, and they made a really good presentation. All right, then I am going to stop the screen share. I will have the recipe online with it, and I hope you'll go and find those rolls because they're pretty good. Oh, Beth. Okay, she said, I never met a bread or roll I didn't like, but you'd use raisins. Well, and you could use, there you are, you could use like a raisin ice cream even. I mean, I actually thought about using maybe a butter pecan or, something like that, if you had a particular flavor, but raisins would be a good idea. Yeah.
What is the brand name on that bag of cinnamon rolls?
Rhodes, Rhodes.
Okay.
And my Kroger, I actually had to ask one of the people that worked there that was stocking the freezer sections, and he had never heard of them, and but it's like they order 2 at a time. And, so it's up on a top shelf in the very back, above where all the garlic bread is, but they've always had them. I've probably made them 4 times now, and they've always had them. The only, when I take mine, there's 1 left. So, anyway, so they're quite fun. They're very nice.